Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 10K Project. We are the largest community of small dollar investors who actively fund Black owned businesses. What does that mean? We Black Shark Tank. That is what that means. Um, if you are interested in learning how to invest like the rich do, you are in the right place. My name is Cherie, and I've got a great guest here for all of us tonight. But before I do that, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. And don't forget to share the video with your family and friends. This is still Family and Friend Week at the 10K Project. So if you are a member and you want to get more of your family and friends involved, we right now on Monday, we had a great session that you can send to your family and friends to talk about the 10K Project, what we do, how investors make money through the 10K Project, and the companies that actually come and present their Bet on Black pitches to us, all of that good stuff. And then tomorrow is the last day for the $50 lifetime membership. So don't forget to send your family and friends to the10kproject.com to learn more. All righty then. So enough with the announcements for now. Again, as everyone's coming in, don't forget to put your city and state in the chat for me. I see Tandanika here saying, "Hey family, hey girl, how you doing?" So everybody, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and don't forget to also share with your family and friends. So put a one in the chat if you are ready to get the F out of debt. You know, we don't curse on this. But my guest here is Mr. Tim Jackson from Dallas. All of my people here from Texas. So hello to everybody. But yeah, so he is. I'm gonna let him tell all about himself, but his whole mantra is for us to get the F out of debt and to invest and to live prosperous lives. He is, a family man and all of that. And I love, especially our men who are doing great things in the community, who are working with kids, who are working within the community for us to have economic success. So, Tim, welcome. Welcome to the 10K Project.
Hello, hello. How are you? And thank you for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
excited. I'm
So,
excited.
yeah, so you and I met each other through Erica Williams. So some of
Absolutely.
the people here know Erica and others don't. She talks a lot about financial advice and things like that. And, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your story and how you got involved on the finance side and educating people on that?
Absolutely. Well, yes, first things first, shout out to Erica Williams. I believe I met you, was it in DC?
Yes, in DC.
On the Classy Climb tour. I was one of the speakers. I always enjoy, working with Erica Williams and assisting people who also support her. So, yeah, I'm from Dallas, Texas originally, born and raised. I operate a real estate brokerage. I've been in real estate now. This is my 17th year. I'm actually retired from real estate. That's what I tell people. I'm a retired real estate broker. My wife runs the business, and I'm focusing on other ventures. One primarily is a documentary that I'm working on right now that talks about ways to it's dealing. The subject matter is going to deal with Black men and ways that Black men can improve themselves, but more importantly, how systematically, Black men are killed through various means, whether it's through
Mhm.
economic destruction, whether it's through societal destruction, just many ways that, things happen to us in
Mhm.
particular, and solving that problem if I can. I know that many of the topics that we hit on will never be completely solved, but,
Right.
I love to create an alternative for those who aren't really familiar with alternatives. I'm also a
Mhm.
mentor, operate a mentoring program, a nonprofit called Real Youth Mentoring, um, where we teach young boys how to be entrepreneurs and leaders within their community. It is a registered 501c3, so if you want to check us out at www.realyouthmentoring.org, you can. Um, and then I'm an author. I wrote a book titled Real Dope, an in-depth comparison between real estate and the dope game. think I have it back here.
Mhm.
So if you want to, take a look at that, I'm on social media at Tim Jackson now. Currently, I sit as the zoning commissioner in District 7 in Dallas. So I get to see real estate and zoning changes from a completely different perspective. And I've learned so much about real estate in the last 2 years than I could have ever learned in a 17-year career. Because I've learned that typically what we think real estate is, and by we, I mean Black folks, it's not really that.
Mhm.
We look at it, the cherry on top, and there's an entire cake that we're missing out on and that we have no knowledge of. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I started teaching people about financial independence and economic independence and freeing themselves financially. I would say about 10 years ago when I started, really working my brokerage big because I saw that most people couldn't buy a house because they were in debt,
Right.
and
And bad credit. Yeah.
bad credit and debt. And
Yeah.
so I always tell people, owning a property will never stop you from buying a car, but buying a car will stop you from owning a property.
Yes.
And a
And
lot of
we
people
get
don't
that
know
message
that.
sometimes so late, and when you're in college, for example, people talked about if people have been in college, I've been there where the credit card vendors are lined up and you're like, free money,
The free pizza credit card. Hey,
everything. And
you,
I,
come
I was
here. I know
I was a
you're
person who
hungry.
signed up for everything. Yes.
I know you're hungry. You want this slice of pizza? Just give me your social security number,
Hmm.
and I can give you some credit. Like
Yeah.
and what people don't understand is that now credit is becoming a factor to discriminate against people with
Mhm.
employment.
It's
So
true.
people go to school for 4 years, 5 years, and then they get out of school because they got that pizza credit card their freshman year, and then they're graduating with a 400 or 500 credit score. And now employers, many employers who require you to be bonded or to deal with money, they're not even going to hire you because they say you can't even take care of your own money. So now you have this
Right.
degree and you're being offered entry level work, or you're not even getting a call back because you have bad credit.
That is absolutely true. I obviously, because I'm in the DC area, government contract, not, sorry, government work. A lot of people aren't able to get in, and then once you get in, people understand that they are very, very specific about their credit, and to the point where they will not co-sign for anybody or any like. Don't ask. I got this, Pentagon job, and no, I'm not giving it up for you.
Yeah,
We need to be like that no matter what?
we do. I
Mhm.
learned about credit years ago. My mother taught me about credit growing up as a child. And so when I was 18, I went off to the military, and I was able to purchase a new car at a really low interest rate. And my credit was really good. I never forget going on a brand new car lot at the age of 19, and the guy telling me, "You have better credit than some of these adults that come in here that that are in their 50s." But I
Mhm.
would never forget. I had a cousin ask me to co-sign for some furniture one time,
Mhm.
and I told her no, and she got mad at me.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I mean, if the bank won't give you the money, then why should I? Like,
They
if
have
a
more money
bank
than I do.
that makes money off of a compound interest won't give
Mhm.
you a loan at the highest
Mhm.
interest rate, why should I put myself at risk? And needless to say, I haven't talked to that cousin in almost too many years
Yeah.
because they felt some kind of way about it. But
Mhm.
a lot of people fall for that, and then when it's time to do something for yourself, you can't because
Mhm.
this person has defaulted.
Yeah, yeah. So the whole point of this series is how the rich invest, and it's just like it's a way for us to have other people come in and talk about their program. And it sounds to me like one of the first things you're saying is invest in your credit score, in your, if you have to, your credit repair. You know, getting your credit together is an investment. I was listening to, was it you or somebody else who said if you want to increase your savings, then by decreasing the amount of consumable credit you have out there that you're paying 16, 18, 20% interest on, that'll reduce so much money. I mean, that'll help you increase your savings because you're not spending it on interest. What do you
Right.
think in regards to that?
Right. I mean, so here's the thing. I'm not anti-credit. I let
Mhm.
people know that up front because I'm actually doing an event tomorrow called seven steps to build debt. I mean, to eliminate debt and build wealth. And one of the ways that me and my wife were able to build wealth was through the proper use of credit. When you think of credit, credit was initially established for businesses.
Mhm.
So, when a business came to a bank and said, this is a concept that we have for a business, this is how we feel like we can make this business work, the banks would take a look at it and approve them for a line of credit. Over time, it became available to consumers, right? When we
Mhm.
think about the grand scheme of things. But what happens a lot of times is that we utilize credit not for building wealth, but for more of the cherry on top stuff. And I worked in auto finance as an underwriter for years. I saw, how it worked, where two people could walk into the same dealership and purchase the exact same car, but one person would pay, $350 a month for that car, and another person would pay $600 a month for that car,
Mhm.
exact same car.
Mhm.
And so when I started to look at credit that way, I was like, man, this is something that people need to know about. I live in
Mhm.
Texas where we don't have the best, public transportation system. What I mean by that, Texas, it's really everything is spread out here, right? Versus on the East
Mhm.
Coast where you can hop on a bus or a train and get anywhere. In areas, essentially west of the Mississippi, maybe outside of Chicago, you need a car, right?
Right.
But what I tell people is, put yourself in a position to purchase the car and pay it off and keep it as long as you can. Keep the maintenance
Mhm.
up. We have a thing here, a saying here that's called a cash car. Maybe purchase a car for cash to eliminate a car note. I haven't had a car note. My wife hasn't had a car note. I was saying about 8 years, and then I bought a truck maybe in 2016, and we
Mhm.
paid it off in a year and a half, and
Mhm.
so I hadn't had a car note since then, right?
Yeah.
But what I realized was that when we were able to eliminate those car notes, then we're able to take that money and apply it towards building wealth. And when opportunities came up for me to utilize credit to build wealth with a 0% interest in some cases, I was able to move on it because one, I had perfect credit, and two, I
Mhm.
had money coming in that wasn't associated or tied to debt, and three, I was able to get the loans that I needed to apply towards wealth building. So
Mhm.
I hope that answers your question.
It did. So I'm going to show Tandanico's question here, which you already answered partially, but I just want to acknowledge it. My question to you is because I don't believe the house and car scam, how is it that you can invest in a vehicle but cannot invest in the home, yet you need a vehicle to get where you have to go? So, you just kind of answered that partially. Try to, if possible, get a car for cash or try to pay it off as quickly as possible. You know,
Yeah,
so, yeah, go ahead.
and I don't know, I don't want to misinterpret what she's asking when
Mhm.
she says house and car scam. Uh, I've seen, I can't count how many people, how many of my potential clients have attempted to get a house loan, but they were denied because their debt to income ratio was too high because they
Yes,
just purchased a car, right? But
yes.
what happens is you got to think about cars turn over quickly. There's a new model car every single year. It's like
Mhm,
an iPhone or an Android, right? It's like Air Jordans. There's
mhm,
going to always be new models coming out, and there's going to always be a need for people to have vehicles based on the way, everything is just set up here, right? Whereas for property, you think about it, we all need somewhere to live as well, right? But the vast majority of people, they rent, especially in certain
mhm,
areas because it's just the way things are set up, right?
yeah.
You can get. I was telling someone the other day, I can go get a $700,000 mortgage. I can go get, you know, go buy $100,000 car. I can get endless student loans, right?
Mhm.
Uh, but I can't get a business loan.
It's
Right?
harder to get, yeah, so that's very interesting that you say that because it's harder, the harder it is to get access to something, the more valuable it is. So, speaking about how the rich invest, one of the things I said this year I want to get into is investing in tax liens. Well, that takes a series of steps to get into. However, if I want a credit card, I can go onto a website and I have decent credit now, thank you Jesus. So and the cards can just come rolling in. So I think one of the things that we have to ask ourselves is how easy is it for us to get something? And if it's that easy, then are we missing something, you know?
And then you also have to look at how things are being utilized too. Like right
Mhm.
now, there's a shortage on used cars. Used cars,
Mhm.
as we speak right now, are up 27%. And
Mhm.
people are also utilizing their cars to build wealth through, car sharing apps or ride sharing apps. Like there's more access to being able to utilize your vehicle, as a vehicle to earn more money. But that hasn't necessarily been the traditional way to do it, and people are still new to those types of programs, right?
Mhm.
But still, like I said, I can go if I want to go to a car dealership right after this call, I could go buy a new Mercedes or a
Right.
new, luxury car with no problems. But if
Mhm.
I mean, literally drive it off the lot that day.
Yeah.
But if I want to get a house, there's going to be a
You have to
30 to
sign your
45 day
life away.
process. They're going to comb through literally every
Yes.
aspect of my life, unless I'm paying
Yeah.
cash,
Mhm.
in order to give
And
me that.
actually, if you're paying cash, they still go through aspects of your life to make sure you didn't launder the money or,
Yeah.
get it from nefarious is my big word, illegal.
That's that one word that you throw out there every time.
Every once in a while, you got to throw in that big college educated,
That's right.
Jesse
That's right.
Jackson word out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I want to bring people back to something because they may not have caught it, but I did. When we talk again about the topic being how the rich invest, you talked about the fact that you paid your car off in 18 months. One of the things I think that rich people invest in is their education with regards to how to make enough money to do something like that. So, how do you grow a business, for example, where you make enough money to be able to pay that car off in 18 months? Because most people have trouble paying the car off in 6 years with, their payment and their insurance and things like that. I wanted to toss that to you as well, because I think that, when we think about how the rich invest, we usually think, oh, they're putting money into Bitcoin or into gold or things like that. But a lot of the underlying stuff for us, like how to successfully build, run, and operate a business that brings in, 300,000 to 500,000 a year to your household, that is a skill. And that's one of the things I've been preaching at the 10K Project, everybody, the10kproject.com, if you want to join us. But I want to toss that over to you. Am I off here? What do you think?
Well, first things first, you can't operate from a scarcity mindset.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times when people find themselves being unwilling to invest or to put their money in other areas that they're not really familiar with, or that's kind of taboo for the way that they were taught how to do things, then they tend to fail at it. I always tell people, if you're investing your all, don't invest, right? Because if anything goes wrong, then you feel some kind of way about investing, right? I've invested in trucks, I've invested in real estate, I've invested in stocks, I've invested in a few things, right? I'll never forget, investing in a truck, and it didn't go right for us, right? And this was during a time when I was engaged to be married, had just purchased a house, like, and we put up a large sum of money for a truck, and it didn't materialize the way we thought. Now, fortunately for us, we didn't lose all of our money. In fact, the person that we worked with, worked out a deal to give us the bulk of our money back based on the way everything was structured. But what I tell people is the reason I'm able to pay off a car in 18 months or in a year, and the reason I'm able to put myself in a position to pay off a mortgage in 3 to 5 years is that I'm not starting off with debt, if that makes any sense. See, a lot of times when people get out of college, they have student loan debts. And I know people that stay in college for years after they graduate just so they can have their payments deferred. They'll go back and get the master's degree. They'll go back and get the PhD. They'll go to law school. Like I know people who have literally done that. I don't want to pay my student loans. And then when it's all said and done, they've got $250,000 with student loans, right? So for me, it's teaching people how to not start with debt. One of the things we teach in our mentoring program is how not to start with debt. If you're going to go to school, find ways to go to school for little or no money, right? And there are so many ways that you can go to school for little or no money, but the traditional way is go to school, get you a couple student loans, and then work it through. That's what I was taught, or go to the military, right? And that's what my parents were taught, right? And that's what the generations are being taught. But there's so many people who go to school and graduate with no debt. We have 2 kids that are in our program now who will graduate school with absolutely no debt. So now they're going into the real world, not having to worry about a student loan payment. We've
Right.
taught them
It frees
along the
them
way.
up.
Right. We've taught them along the way that first car, don't be like Mr. Tim. Don't go to a dealership. You know, I'm 18 years old. I bought my first car for about $9,000 from someone on base. Then I went to a car dealership and bought my second car. It was a $25,000, $30,000 car. And this was back in, 2002, 2003. And so that was a lot of money back then, right? I mean, all the bells and whistles. And it's like, why as a 19-year-old do I have, a $450 car note? This doesn't make sense, right? And then I was buying cars every 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Trading them in. And what's happening is that the price of that monthly payment is going up and up and up and up because I'm rolling in that negative debt, right? So then I wake up one day and now my car note is 600 and something bucks, and I've essentially been paying these car notes for 10 years. We have to not do that, right? We have to put ourselves in a position to buy a good car that we know is going to last and take care of it. So after that car note is over with, even if you do a 4-year or 5-year note, you still have another 4 or 5 years after that you can drive that car with no issues as long as you keep the maintenance up. And I know there's going to be a contrarian out there that'll say, well, stuff happens, Okay, I prepare for the stuff happens, but I don't dwell on the stuff happens.
Right.
Because you can't be a true investor and you can't be a person that's going to take risks financially if you're always waiting for something to happen, if that makes any sense. So my thing is put yourself in a position where you're lowering your monthly payments on other things so that you can expedite paying off certain things. And that's what we did. We literally just eliminated bills that we didn't need. We eliminated debt. I sold my car, my Lexus that I bought. I sold it. I looked at my life and said, I want to own a business. I want to do there's certain things that I just want to do. I can't do it with a $650 a month plus $150 insurance. I can't do it with that. So what did I do? I took my car to a dealership. I sold it. There was a deficiency balance left. I took out a personal loan, covered the deficiency balance, and then paid the personal loan off in less than a year. And now I have $700 a month that I can apply towards building wealth. Does that make sense?
And so building wealth can be, so again, how the rich invest, that $700 a month could go to, like stocks, for example. It could go into gold. It could go into crypto. It could also go into marketing your business, getting clients.
Running ads or purchasing a
yes.
property. I purchased a property. It's funny you say the tax links. I took a tax link course, but during the time that I took this course, I actually found someone who was selling a property for $23,000. That was in a prime location in Dallas. That was next to a train station. That was next to a hospital. That's next to everything. We have the state fair here in Dallas, and that's huge around this time of year. People literally come to Dallas for 3 weeks, and they make their entire yearly salary at the state fair, right? Wow. So, we found a house literally 5 minutes away from the state fair. You can walk. You see what I'm saying? And so we bought that house and paid cash for it. I would have never been able to buy that house and pay cash for it had I not went through a process of eliminating all of my debt and put myself in a position where I could start investing. Does that make sense? Yeah. And now that house is worth nearly $200,000, and we've only had that property for 4 years.
And we
didn't even rent it out for the first 2 years. It was an empty shell for the first 2 years.
Wow. What did you buy at? Would you buy that house at?
Oh, I bought it at $23,000.
$23,000 and it's worth $200,000.
It's worth about if you pull up the Zestimate, it'll tell you it's 187. But we get letters on it literally every day, or calls every day, letters every week from people wanting to buy this property and pay cash for it because they understand all they can do is hold on to it, rent it out, and then they can tear it down in a couple of years and build something better. Because that's what's happening where I live. I can't speak where everyone else lives, but I can speak to where I live, right? So you have to be in a position to be able to take advantage of deals like that. And it's hard to take advantage of deals like that when you have a lot of debt.
Right. Yeah, so one of the things that the rich do is they prepare for winter. We keep hearing this winter is here thing. I'm about sick of that saying now, but or winter is coming, winter is here, blah blah
It's coming,
blah.
right?
But if we look at the big companies like BlackRock, for example, or like Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, what do they always do? They always stock up their cash so that when the economic downturn happens, they're loaded with cash and they've got all of these deals and they're able to negotiate even more because they're the ones with the cash. So my question to you is, let's say, you want to give someone an 18-month program and they have the ability to, let's say, get $50,000 in cash, right? They're at zero right now. What would you suggest somebody like that does in order to start working on a program?
So that they can get $50,000?
Yeah, like,
Like how to generate, how to build it
how
themselves?
to generate, yeah, how
Digital
to,
product, a digital product. Just get me personally, get a
mhm,
digital product that you can sell and market that people actually need. Digital products are kind of the new oil, right?
mhm, yeah,
Would you agree to that or no?
data, yeah, well, not
Right.
just data, but like online courses
Yeah.
or,
Online
yeah,
courses,
hmm,
digital products is where it's at.
hmm,
So if you can put yourself in a position to get a good digital product where you're teaching or instructing people who need to know about a certain subject matter, you
hmm,
can make that money easily. I mean, I know people who make that money in their sleep. People that spoke at the event, making $1,000 a day, in some
hmm,
cases off of
yeah,
digital products. So
yeah,
find out what you're interested in, find out what others are interested in. I understand that there's a need to talk about credit. I understand that people are struggling with credit, and I understand
hmm,
that the middle class is going away. Whether
it's,
people want to admit that or not, it's not a political thing. It's a fact. The
it's
middle
true.
class is being eroded. You're either going to have money or you're not going to have
Yeah.
money. Well, would you
We've
agree
been
with that
saying
or
that
no?
on this channel. It's going to be the haves or the
Yeah,
have-nots.
it
And
is.
the first thing you need to do is make sure your family has, you can't save somebody else if you're drowning.
You
So look,
can, you
I
can.
agree with you.
And eventually you're going to have to make a decision. Do I feed my family? Do I pay for this bill or this debt?
Hmm,
Right.
hmm,
And, we're seeing, bankruptcies are on the rise. We're seeing, I mean, you saw what happened during, the shutdown with
hmm,
people, defaulting on their rent. They just lifted the
hmm,
moratoriums nationwide. I'm in
hmm,
a few renter landlord groups on social media, and I can say I'm thankful that none of our tenants defaulted at all. But I'm in some groups where people haven't picked up rent for 18 months.
yeah.
That can bankrupt you if you don't have that money, if you have a mortgage on
Hmm,
that. And they're
hmm,
celebrating the fact that they're able to evict people now.
yeah.
Like, think about that. Think about
Hmm,
how that's going to impact someone's life,
yeah.
right? So you have to put yourself in a position, where in our case, we own the property. It's like, well, we own a few properties. I don't have to pay a mortgage. I'm just paying the taxes. So
Right.
worst case scenario, if a person defaults, I'm okay. I don't have to
You're,
worry about
yeah.
the bank coming
Yeah, you
after
have
me, or
options.
or taking money out of our home to pay for another home. And that's me. That's my way,
Hmm,
right? But my way is what a lot of people do. And then, we utilize credit. I talk heavily about, the balance transfer, offer. I've got, the other day I posted, I got 2 balance transfer offers on 2 different credit cards because
hmm,
we utilize those 0% interest forms of money to flip houses or to renovate houses, if you will, right? That's what
hmm,
wealthy people do. They don't, once you get rid of your debt or once you put yourself in a position, you don't use your own money if you can avoid it. You
yeah.
insulate your own funds, right?
Hmm,
But you can't do that if all you're doing is borrowing, if that
right.
makes any sense. And
Right.
yeah. So
Right. And so I think, digital products are a great way. Also, if you have a service that you do, for example, my mother
service.
is a bookkeeper. She's been one for many years, but, Erica also was talking about the fact, and my mother confirmed it as well, that QuickBooks is, hiring, well, not hiring accountants, but getting more accountants on board. There are going to be a lot of small business owners that need bookkeeping services. And in fact, my mother told me that QuickBooks contacted her to be one of their teachers years ago, but she wasn't interested. interested. And I'm like, I didn't know that. So that's interesting, but I think that, if there's a service that you do, I think that there are tons of ways for somebody to generate that kind of money. And that kind of money could go to pay off debt. It could go
Yeah.
to be an
It must,
emergency
it
fund.
has to go to paying off debt first.
Hmm.
And like I said, different people will tell you different things. This is my opinion.
Hmm.
I've sat on panels with people who literally have the exact opposite opinion on me. This
Oh,
is what
yeah.
worked for me, right?
Yeah.
You
Like a
know,
Grant Cardone has Grant Cardone says, oh, go and buy as much as you can and be leveraged up to the hilt. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good
and I
idea.
know people that do that, but
Hmm.
I've seen what it looks like when the cards fall for people.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I play it safe to the standpoint of I take risk, but I'm not going to take a risk that's going to put my family, you know,
In jeopardy.
in a
Yeah.
situation where they're doing without. And
Hmm.
also what I've, being in real estate for so long, I see a lot of these risks that people take in my, career end up being a lot of people end up getting in trouble later on.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, because you're either desperate for money or you're trying to do something that's just too big, you
It's
know?
too big or
Yeah.
it's unethical and it can eventually lead to
Yeah.
being illegal. I was in the business when the first bubble, when the bubble crashed, and I
Hmm.
saw people getting in trouble behind that, and I'll never forget one of my first deals that I closed. When you close a house, there's a thing called a HUD settlement statement. Me and my broker sat down and went over the HUD settlement statement. And
Hmm.
he said, in 30 years of being in real estate, I'd never seen a lender, a loan officer make this much money on a deal, right?
Hmm.
And so when I see people jumping to, certain trends, I always kind of fall back and say, all right, let me see what
What's gonna
this really
happen?
looks like, because you want
Hmm.
to protect yourself in business. You want to
Yeah.
insulate yourself as much as you can, but you don't want to insulate yourself to the point to where you don't take calculated risk. Just be calculated with. I always tell people, trust your gut, not your heart, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
The heart attacks and the gut filters through the other stuff.
Hmm. So, like for me, I say when everyone is zigging, you zag. If there's like this new popping trend out there, like you said, you kind of take a step back and you say, okay, let me see what's going to happen before I jump in. But then I always make sure I'm not the last person to jump in
Don't be the
either.
last person
Yeah.
in.
That so
Do your
I'm
due
not the last
diligence.
person in, but I will see, they say that the pioneers get full of arrows. So I want to see what arrows the pioneers
Oh
going to have
yeah.
to deal with. Yeah, so I do want to say to everybody on YouTube, Facebook, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like the video, like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Here, we're going to be doing this series about how the rich invest. So Tim Jackson from Dallas is here today as our guest if you're just coming in. Um, so then the other thing that I remember years ago when I finally decided to get my money right, I did something that it just worked for me, and I always share it with people because it may work for other people as well. Um, I called it like the envelope method of let's say you have your check every other week that comes in. What I did, and I saved so much money doing this. Like in the bank, I opened up my bank statement. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I saved that much money. Every 2 weeks, you have your paycheck and you pay your bills, your rent or your mortgage or whatever. And then I would have a certain amount of money. I think at the time it was like $300, right?
Yeah.
And with that, I would pay for gas, groceries, hair, nails, anything like that. Like that was like, and I would literally put it in an envelope. And when that money was gone, it was gone. Let me tell you, when you have that cash envelope method and you looking, at your money and you're like, well, I could do that. I could pay for that, but then I wouldn't have any more money left, or then I, be short. Um, I wouldn't have enough money like in my envelope to make it through the rest of the week. You get really, really kind of specific about um, what call it not frivolous spending, but the buying just like frivolous stuff, but what you spend on. And I just suggest that to anybody if I know, as a method, and a way of saving money. It's just doing something like that, just coming up with something super simple. Do you have any kind of hacks that you use in order to manage your money?
So I've definitely heard of that method. I've never tried it. Um,
Mhm.
I'm big on visualization and I'm big
Okay.
on, putting what I desire in front of me, right?
Mhm.
So every time I get to when I hit a milestone financially, or if it's something that I want to achieve, I put it in front of me. Here lately, I've been going to tour, high-rise condos, right? I
Mhm.
lived downtown before I got married, and then we ended up purchasing a property in the suburbs. And so me and my wife always talk about moving back downtown,
Mhm.
right? And so that's the thing now. Like, okay, I want to move back downtown. So I literally schedule a showing every day and go
Mhm.
view different properties. And when I leave that property, I know to myself, okay, this is what it's going to cost. This is what it's going to
Mhm.
be.
Mhm.
These are the HOA fees. Like, this is what this expense is going to cost me. It's
Mhm.
going to be impossible for me to achieve this financial goal if I'm overspending. Does that make
Right.
sense? So
Mhm.
that's what I do.
Yeah.
I know a person that goes and test drives cars, because their thing is exotic cars, right? So
Mhm.
whenever they want to hit a milestone, they purchase an exotic car. So that's the way that they keep themselves in check. But more
Okay.
importantly, having someone to hold you accountable, setting goals with someone else. I have friends of mine. We do the $10,000 challenge every year, where the goal is to put back $10,000 so we can come together and invest it.
Mhm.
I actually incorporated that with my family as well.
Mhm.
So we put it back as a family now. And that's a way to know, hey, I got to make my payment this month for my
Right.
$10,000 so I can have this money to do something with it, whenever it's time for us to make a move. So it took a while. I'll never forget when I set up my payments to get out of debt quick, and I was literally paying everything off and making my bulk payments, my
Mhm.
avalanche payments, if you will. Those first couple of months were the hardest, because here I am making these huge payments on debt that I had been paying the minimum payment for years, if you will, right?
Mhm.
But after I started to see those balances go away, it just did something to me. It became a game almost, right?
Mhm.
Well, what can I save now? What can I cut back on today? What don't I need, right?
Mhm.
To the point to where, like I said, within a 3-year period of time, I was able to eliminate $190,000 worth of debt, simply because it became a game to me. So you have to find your why. Your why is your why. It's nobody else's why. What's going to motivate you? For you, it's putting the money in the envelope and physically seeing that money. For
Mhm.
me, it's going to walk inside of a property and to physically visualize myself in that property, and knowing in the back of my mind that my current house is going to pay for this, because I'm going to rent this current house out for a lot, and then it's
Mhm.
going to cover, either we're going to pay cash or we're going to pay half cash, and then we're going to cover it through our tenants. Like, I'm not going to ever pay for it, my tenants will, but it's physically going to the property and seeing it. All right,
Mhm.
now it's in my, now I put it in my, I visualize it in my mind. That means I can hold it in my hands.
Mhm.
I've actually stepped inside. I know what it smells like. I know what it looks like. I take pictures and I post it on my Instagram every day. This week, I've posted, me and my wife plan to buy a high rise condo one day. So
Yeah.
here's what I saw today. And it's
Mhm.
like, you'd be surprised how many people are responding to me like, man,
Yeah.
that's dope. I hope you get it. Now they're pushing me on like, oh, that's good.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And then eventually I want to buy a farm. So the goal is
Amazing.
eventually to get on a farm. We've actually
Yeah.
gone and toured farms and stuff like that.
Good for
Um,
you.
but you have to put it in your hand. You
Mhm.
have to visualize it so that you can see it. And like you said, seeing that money,
Mhm.
it lets you know,
Mhm.
oh snap, I can't spend
Yeah.
that money.
You can't spend it's already spoken for. Yeah.
So it's already spoken for. I like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, it's already spoken for. So I have a final question for you. So again, the topic is how the rich invest, and I know one of the investments you're doing is real estate, whether it's your long-term rentals or even the farm. depending on what you're doing with it, could be a moneymaker, right? What else are you either investing in or looking at right now?
So definitely the digital courses, that's something that we're very, very into right now.
Mhm,
Putting out content for people to purchase online so you can make the money in your sleep.
mhm.
I've actually gotten to the options trading.
Okay.
Took a course on that and I'm learning how to do options trading. I've never really been a fan of the stock market because I personally feel like it's gambling.
Mhm,
But as I learn more about being strategic with it,
mhm.
you know, I had to open up my mind to say there's people making millions and millions and millions of dollars, and that's not by luck. That's by
Mhm,
learning what to look for and what not to do. I
mhm,
haven't necessarily got into cryptocurrency. My nephew is really into it, and he's done very well. He's also taken a couple of hits,
mhm,
but at the age of 18, 19, I wasn't thinking about that.
mhm.
I was buying a new car, right? So
So he's ahead of you.
Um, and then of course, consulting but
Mhm,
mainly just putting systems in place. Me and my wife and my son, we sat down and had a conversation about a week ago, and I said all of us need to make $1 million in some way, shape, form, or fashion next year. So
Wow.
how are we gonna do it? So
Uh-huh.
my goal is if I set the goal bar at 1 million, and we all make 500,000 on whatever
Mhm.
product, that's a win, right?
Yeah.
That whole 10x mentality. And now I'm teaching my son. My son didn't come to DC, but he was in Atlanta with me. Taking
Mhm.
him on the road so he can actually see people, that are doing things that are amazing and understand that this is normal,
Right.
right? So, just finding a way to create more digital products,
Mhm.
create more value to people, not just upselling them on something just because, but to put people in a position where they want to come back and work
Mhm.
with me again. And that's it.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I'm
love
doing.
it. I love it. So, everybody, you'll have to come back to hear my program and some of the things I'm into, but I definitely wanted to give Tim a chance to tell us what he is doing. So, it's Tim Jackson Now on all of his social channels. Tim
Yeah.
Jackson Now on all of his social channels.
And I
Get them
cut
F
up.
out of
Let me
debt
give you a
is his
disclaimer.
thing.
I cut up. I
He,
cut up
he
on
does cut
social
up.
media
Yes, I've seen
because I'm
it.
myself, and I believe in the power of being your authentic self.
Mhm.
When I worked in corporate and even when I first started working in real estate, sometimes you feel like, especially as a Black person, that you have to be someone else in order to gain that acceptance or that validity, and
Mhm.
that's just not true. Like I told you at the conference that we had, you often
Mhm.
hear, you'll never hear a white person say dress for the job you want, not the job you have. You'll never
Yeah,
hear that. That's
yeah,
just something we say amongst ourselves.
yeah.
I've never heard a white person say it, and I live in the South. I'm myself, but I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I've been in this game for a minute. I know real estate.
Mhm.
I know what I'm doing. I would never talk about anything that I have no experience on.
Mhm.
So, and I'm easy to find, and I grew
Mhm.
up on that. I'm the type of person I like doing business with people that I can, pull up on and have a face-to-face conversation with. So I'm
Right,
very easy to find, and for
right.
that reason, I operate with a certain level of integrity,
Mhm.
because your name is all you have at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have
Yeah.
fun. You'll see some real estate stuff. You'll see some credit stuff, and then you'll see me being me, and that's who you want. You don't ever
Yeah.
want to deal with a person who takes off a mask after they put their phone down, and you find out later they're not who they say they are.
That's the
That's what has
worst
gotten
thing.
me where I am.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely agree with that, and I appreciate the way that you bring the message to the community because I think that not everybody can be, Susie Orman. I can't think of a better example right now,
That's the perfect
or the
example.
budgetnista, right? Not everybody can be the budgetnista. Sometimes people need to hear the message in a different manner and things like that.
There's
And
an
I also
audience for everyone.
there's an audience for everyone, and also audiences like to move around too. Like, I like a good cut up as well. So it's just that my co-founder would kill me if we did it over here. So
No, I know how to um, I know on my platform I can be me,
Hmm.
but I'll never come onto another person's platform and make them be me, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah.
I was always taught, when you go to someone else's house, you show respect. You
Yeah.
walk in, you speak to everyone, you acknowledge people. I hate to say the term when in Rome, because Rome was burned down,
Hmm.
but it's always being you. People, like you said, sometimes you need that. I don't want to hear a bunch of extra stuff sometimes too. I want to hear some educated talk too, right? I mean,
Hmm. Yeah.
I have a master's degree. I have a little education. I'm no fool,
Yeah.
no dummy. But sometimes I want to hear, I want to be a little ratchet,
Hmm.
and that's okay.
Ratchet finance. That's what we talk about. It's somebody's going to do a channel that called that Ratchet Finance.
Hey, you know what? Let me write
Isn't
that.
that a good idea? Like that's me. I come up with like the clever stuff. That could be a good tagline or something.
All right, don't be
Um,
sending me no cease and desist when you see ratchet finance out there.
no, no, trust me, you can have it.
I'm
You
that
can.
person. I come up with so many ideas. Like I love that idea. That's
You
pretty dope.
actually that
You
could be a
heard it
whole
here
brand,
first.
a brand, all
Yeah.
of that. So
And if I could, before we leave, I want
yeah,
to say
sure. Go
something
ahead.
about my book. This isn't a shameless plug. 100% of the proceeds from my book go to our mentoring program. I don't make a penny off of this. Real Youth Mentoring, again, it's a nonprofit organization. I've never eaten off this book. But I can show you a lot of kids and a lot of families who have thrived. We took our boys on a trip, and I know we're wrapping up.
Hmm.
We took them to Memphis, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, and Birmingham. And these were some boys who many of them had never even been out of the city of Dallas. And it was we let them live in luxury. We had these nice Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans. When we got to Memphis, we stayed in a mansion that was literally on the state line of Tennessee and Mississippi. So half of the house was in Mississippi, the other half was in Tennessee. We got
Hmm.
to Atlanta. We stayed at the Westin, the big tall glass building that's downtown. Every kid had a view of the city. And then we went through Birmingham. But when we got back to Dallas, out of the 15 boys that we took, 10 of them made straight A's after that point. Because when you expose people to different things, then they
Hmm.
know what's possible.
Yeah,
And prior to that trip, these kids had no idea that Black people were living like this, unless
they
they
don't
played a
know.
sport or sung a song or did a dance. Nothing against that,
Hmm.
but there's so many different ways to get that second comma in your income, and we have to start exposing our children to that. So that book, if you do support and purchase that book, follow me on Instagram. You can use the link in my bio. That's where the money goes towards.
Yeah. This is
I
a
think
comment of the day from Gretchen here. I'm missing Earn Your Leisure. Thank you guys for all the information. Well, we appreciate it. So we will get you to EYL. Everybody, don't forget to come to the10kproject.com if you want to be a part of what people are calling the Black Shark Tank. That is the easiest way for me to describe it, the10kproject.com.
hey
And
Gretchen.
recap. So, according to Tim Jackson, how the rich invest, he invests in debt reduction in his business and growing his business and keeping his credit a number one in real estate, long-term hold, and in his vision and going to see the high rises, the um, things like that that he wants to invest in to keep his mind straight. And he's about to invest in ratchet finance.
I'm
Thank
on your
you,
page right now. I'm going
everybody.
to put my social media stuff. Someone's asking about it. And then if it's
Uh-huh.
okay with you, can I put the website too?
Yeah, sure. So let me, if you want to change that, and you can also say what your website is as well. Everybody get the book. I bought the book. It's upstairs, but I bought it. I support anything that has to do with our youth and, just showing them a different life and being able to, see people in the community work with them, especially men. Yes, I'm a traditionalist, especially the men. Like I'm all here for it. So,
You know what, Gretchen? I'm not Gretchen. You know what?
uh-huh.
I'm seeing her comments. So you know how
That's
the
okay.
brain works. You see some. I'm gonna have to talk to you offline because one thing
Okay.
I do is I mentor a lot of men in prison who are
Hmm.
coming home. I'm actually helping two people write a book now. So when they do come home, they'll have income. But there's a lot of people. I'm going to talk to you offline about some things
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
feel I love what you're
Wonderful.
doing,
Hmm.
and I feel like we need to have companies like this that can fund other companies. Like you're essentially the bank, if you will, you know.
Mhm.
And there's people out there who want to invest in Black businesses. They just don't know how.
Yeah.
And so I commend what you're doing. I'm proud of you. It's been an honor being on your platform, and I can't wait to see what you all do in the future.
Yeah, yeah. So everybody, you put an exclamation in the chat for Tim, at Tim Jackson now on all social media. Gretchen,
Gretchen, I'm
we'll,
old
we'll,
school. I'm just now
we'll,
getting on this social media. I do all my work in the streets, so all this is new to me. But thanks for the.
we are going to work on getting our game together, Gretchen. We promise. Like, this is my first time even having a guest on Restream, so we gonna work it out. But I will make sure to get Tim's information out there for everybody. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you everybody
Thank
for
you
being
so
here.
much.
Thanks for missing Earn Your Leisure, but we're gonna let y'all go to EYL now and get some of their knowledge too. Have a good evening, everybody.
You have a